Yobadoba, it's the Golden Age Pauldcast in the house. It's the Golden Age Pauldcast. Live in Technicolor, and my dog is already bored. Time to watch a podcast for the Golden Age starring PJ Cote in a brand new hat. And now it's TV time. Say it with me, everyone. Go jump in the lake. Go jump in the lake, y'all. Whatever you do, make sure you go and jump into the lake. That is the special video version of the theme song for the Golden Age Pauldcast. I'm your venerable and affable young host, PJ Cote. 1 second while I toggle the tunes. We had sufficient fade out for that. So we're doing something a little different today. A little different, meaning revolutionary. We've moved from the daguerreotype toward talkies. We have transcended the silent pictures, where my first podcast I had to basically like a combination of ASL and just gesturing, charades. And that was my first attempt at a podcast, and I'm not going to lie to you guys, it didn't translate well to the genre I was pointing it toward. So I lived and learned. As you can see, this is my sidekick and producer of the show. Her name's Bella Ache. Bella, say hi. Bella barely acknowledged, barely cast her eyes. Yes, thank you for producing the program today, Bella. Bella's here to, kind of oversee operations. She was very against me wearing this hat today because she said it was going to cast a shadow over my eyes and I would look menacing and unfriendly to the viewing audience. But I decided that was a bunch of horse shit. And I decided I liked sort of looking like a half-shadowed superhero, almost like a scene from a classic film where shadowing is used to, gauge somebody's level. Like since my face is half cut off by shadows right now, it would demonstrate to the viewer that I have a bit of a unbalanced or a black and white kind of like conflict going on in me, and then the shadow cutting my face in half will illustrate to the viewer. Maybe I'm just like nothing but talk, just hot air, so like the light is just on my dumb mouth when I talk on a podcast. So let's try the hat this way and see if that changes our shadowing. Now I'm rap metal. Okay, let's get this thing straight. All right, I'm going to be shadowed for this because I just think it's better and more appropriate. Shout out to Strange Love. I'm somewhat of a pseudo collector of that skateboard brand. This is the Golden Age Pauldcast, and I'm kind of like Ricky Bobby right now. Like, he doesn't know what to do with his hands. I kind of don't know what to do with my eyes. Like, should I stare into the camera like transfixed? Like, that's not good quality programming, is it? Maybe I was looking at the screen where it kind of just looks like I'm sort of looking at y'all, the viewer. Bella's already cashed out. If there's any glitches, any technical issues, anything going on, she's going to be right on top of it. I've seen her, on 3/4 wires and, fooling with XLRs. And she really is quite astute when called into action, but she's kind of like a slumbering bear with hibernation. Like, only when called to action does she, spring into quick work. So the Golden Age Pauldcast is now in glorious video. As you'll notice, I don't really have any backgrounds. Maybe I should have brought a framed picture, something to attach to the soundproofing, but no. Just like the first Golden Age Pauldcast on audio was a stripped down version with no theme music and no bells and whistles or pops and buzzes, as it were. So also will be the first Golden Age Pauldcast where Bella gets the catbird seat. She gets to chill in the lap of luxury, whereas I post up here in my t-shirt, and I got I got one. This is my right arm. I got one tattoo. Got one. I want to be known as the guy with one tattoo. There's Craig. Hi, Craig. I've waved at Craig. Shout out to CAM, Community Access Media here in Erie, Pennsylvania, for providing the venue for the Yobadoba. Why hide it, y'all? I'm drinking iced coffee I made at home. Y'all want my coffee recipe ready? This is something interesting. See, the Golden Age Pauldcast, if you haven't gotten the concept yet, is about providing value. And what's value? It's content. Don't make art. Don't make content. Make art. Well, we're making both. We're making artistic content. Art content is a word that I like to just invented right now. I do like to make up words here on the Golden Age Pauldcast. And I want to let you know about a few of our traditions here on the Golden Age Pauldcast. But first, before I forget, the coffee recipe. So you go and you get the Bustelo. If you didn't already know Bustelo, it's Cafe Bustelo. You get that going. You get one of those iced French presses for iced coffee, and you just dump like 4, decently sized scoops into your iced coffee, into your iced coffee pot, your French press, and then you give it the flat tap. You kick in some flat tap for, maybe just fill it. Maybe it's just a tiny bit over halfway. And then from there, you kind of let it steep. And what you try to do is forget about it for a while, so it steeps longer than you wanted it to. So it's maybe like an hour later, or maybe half hour. The longer the better, right? So then, push down the French press. You just get some ice out of the freezer. If you have milk, dump some milk on top. If you don't have milk, then just do straight up coffee over ice. People are like, what flavor do you want? I'm like, coffee. I like the flavor of coffee when I'm coffeeing. So that makes perfect sense, don't it? Don't it make perfect sense? I'm going to scooch in a little bit. All right, so when I was a kid, I'd be like, scooch over, Mom. Scooch over, Mommy. Or no, sook over. I would say, sook over, sook over. Stupid kids. My brother sent me a picture of his stepson, grandson, I don't know what it is. The baby was like playing hide and go seek, and then he was hiding behind like one piece of vertical blind. And just one little piece, and you can see his dumb, chubby arms and legs on each side. And my brother said, he was like, kids are stupid. I'm like, dumb children. Kids are dumb because they haven't learned stuff yet. Ha ha. Teach children well. Anyway, so this is the Golden Age Pauldcast, and some people might say, well, what's a Pauldcast? It's not a podcast, because what's a pod? You don't have a pod. You have a coffee pod, maybe. Actually, shout out to Scotty G, our first guest on the audio podcast. He had a pod. He has an iPod that he carries around. It's got all his music on it. He's like, this has got 70 hours of music. I'm like, yeah. You could have 70 hours of music on your iPod in 1994. Really dope. Anyway, shout out to Scotty G. He was our first guest. And now that we're in the video world, we're going to be looking for some high-profile people. Maybe we can even do some dial-ins or some dial-outs, some dilutes. Maybe I could try to get on a video call real quick with somebody. We'll see. We're gonna play fast and loose with the Golden Age Pauldcast. So it's not a podcast. It's more of a broadcast. That's what I say. I sing this song. I go, Yobadoba, it's the Golden Age Pauldcast. It's not really a podcast. It's more of a broadcast. You like that high note I hit? It's because I can sing. No, I can't. I'm like a car singer, like a vehicle singer / think I'm better at karaoke than I am singer guy. Anyhow, I'm talking into a microphone, and I'm PJ Cote. One of the other cool things we do, where I was hoping, that's why we were launching both of these simultaneously, so that we could let you know that the Golden Age Pauldcast is also a vehicle for promoting the comedy business. Well, in the business, I guess you get paid a little bit, but it's comedy, open mic, so it's free to attend. There's no cover or anything. You just show up, meet me under the clock, as the Erie feller says. That's at the Boston store, the Voodoo Brewery, every Saturday, 7 o'clock through, however long people want to stay and be funny. Usually around 9 or 10, but it's going to be at the Voodoo, and it's every Saturday night for the time being. Even if I get stuck at my dreary day job, I'm going to try to, be there or have Scotty host. In either case, you can expect on Saturday nights to have open mic hilarity. And if there's missing hilarity, you bring your hilarity. You bring yourself into the equation and you decide, hey, I'm going to rock my type 5. And if you know a type 5, go up and tell a story. Tell a lie. Make something up. Fabricate. Don't have a plan, just like when I wandered in here walking my dog. Today I'm going to rock a podcast. This is going to become the first video podcast. And, this stuff just works out sometimes in your favor. I had the right fit for today. Never underestimate the power of a white hat with a red bill. Look at this goodness. This is the brand new. I have a collection here of the Erie Seawolves caps. I think this is number 12 in my 5950 collection at size 7.5. And yes, I do keep the sticker on because I'm from the ghetto. In the ghetto. And my stomach goes, feed me coffee, it's hungry. Some of you might interpret a stomach growling as saying, oh, eat some food. That, my ladies and gentlemen, friends, is an incorrect assertion. Coffee is your stomach, or stomach growling is your way of saying coffee. That reminds me real quick, I want to do, I've been told from the open mic business here at Comedy As You Are, hosted by me, PJ Cote, that they like my impressions, my impersonations. And I like doing impressions, but I want to be like more obscure in my impersonation. So some of you might get this, some of you might not. I'm going to do an impersonation of an impression. I'm going to do my impression of the CV joints on a late 80s Ford Econoline van or Explorer model. Once again, CV joints from a Ford. Now, I'm not sure if that was the best impression of a CV joint, but I think it was the first attempt at an impression of a CV joint, and for that, I deserve respect and praises too. And then I offshot from that joke, and I go, yeah, I'm not really much of a mechanic. I don't know much about really what a CV joint is or even what that stands for, but I just thought a CV joint is when you took your resume to roll a doobie out of it. Roll a doobie out of it. CV. See, it's an intellectual joke. If you know Latin, then you know what CV stands for. If you know what CV stands for, maybe you're not even familiar, but I think it's curriculum vitae. Curriculum vitae. I think I first heard that in the movie The Lady Killers. If I can recommend any movie, it's The Lady Killers. The Coen brothers slapped down classic remake of a 1965 movie starring Sir Obi-Wan Kenobi. That's Alec Guinness. I know. Anyway, the Golden Age Pauldcast is a concept where, well, people talk about what the Golden Age is, and I guess we could explore the concept of what the Golden Age is since, we're here, it's open-ended. It's a Pauldcast, and a Pauldcast is meant to take up enough time to explain things. So, I said things because I'm highly influenced by reggae music. On the way over, I was playing reggae on my little speaker here, a little ghetto bullet, and I was just playing reggae and then dubs and just like singing dance hall the whole time over here, so people looking at the bearded white man with the small white Italian dog doing dance hall. So I wonder if the mic picked up my stomach growling just now, because it was like, fool, give me more coffee. So eventually I'll get to the point here, but we are open-ended, so, we're killing time here. So the Golden Age Pauldcast, in its essence here, let me adjust myself here. The Golden Age Pauldcast exists as a venue for fun interactions of camaraderie, wisdom exchange, blessings, fun tales of misadventure involving skateboarding or comedy or disc golf, as it were, or maybe Erie, Pennsylvania. When exploring the podcast, they're like, well, you shouldn't be too nichey. You shouldn't niche down too much. I don't know all the terminology. But, I'm a skateboarder first and foremost. I think that's important. I'm from Erie. That's a part of my life, which, that's a small niche, side niche. Got my side niche, Erie, Pennsylvania. Got my main chick, skateboarding, comedy. I got my side niche over here, Erie. My other side niche is disc golf. So yeah, I just invented another phrase, side niche. So some of the things we say here on the Golden Age Pauldcast, we'll go, we have a turn of phrase that we do at the end of the podcast. We'll go, just like my dad said. Well, we won't say just like my dad said, but I would say it. So just like my dad said, go jump in the lake. Go jump in the lake is the thing that you say. Why do we say go jump in the lake? My dad would substitute that for cursing, I think. If he wanted to tell you to go fuck off, instead he would just tell you to go jump in the lake, right? You go. He was like, I always compared it, I just thought about this, is when you say go jump in the lake, it's like an Amish guy is getting really pissed off, but he can't curse either, so he's like, go jump in the lake. Ugh, go jump in the lake. I'm about to rip my homemade shirt off. It comes off so easy. Ugh. Like an angry Amish would say, go jump in the lake. So I like that. My dad didn't really drink. He smoked a pack and a half of Benson and Hedges Deluxe Ultra Lights a day. My mom smoked a pack of Benson and Hedges Deluxe Ultra Light menthols a day. She was less than a pack. He was pack and a half. He was cracking open a new pack after dinner. And he would send me and my brother, we were little toe-headed twins, just tiny little 5-year-old long-haired blonde twins. I thought we were little girls. We were like little demon spawn. And my dad, for shits and giggles, would send us up to the cigarette counter at the cash and carry down in Riverview, Florida. He'd send us up to the counter. And he'd train us, which is, okay, now remember, ask for 1 carton of Benson and Hedges Deluxe Ultra Lights. And then, Christopher, you go ahead and you order 1 carton of Benson and Hedges Deluxe Ultra Light menthols. And then you just get this, just look at them where's the cigarettes? And so they would kind of stand there with their cart next to customer service, and they'd send us down to the cigarette counter and just watch to see what would happen. And I want to say there were probably some times in the early 80s when they were playing this prank that they would just hand us the cartons and we'd bring them over to mom and put them in the cart. Sometimes they were like, yeah, no. How about never to a 5? I'm never going to hand a 5-year-old a carton of cigarettes. So that was the stuff. I think that was my parents' attempt at comedy, right? It's just let's send the 5-year-old twins over to this business to grab a carton of stogies. So I never smoked. And then I never smoked because one day my dad was taking a break from work. He was digging us a pool. He was 4 feet into the dirt before he hit the clay, and he was just hating life. He's sucking down Benson and Hedges Deluxe Ultra Lights. And I'm like, Dad, oh man, you got the cigarettes rolling all the time. You're always cranking into a stogue. You know what I'm saying? Always puffing. Let me get a drag of that stogue, Dad. He was I was 5. He's 52 by now. 53, 54, whatever. Long beard. Where'd you get the beard from, PJ? And I'm hand over the stogue, Pops. And Dad hands over the stogue. Big long cigarette, half finished. I just went in there. I went full drag. I didn't horse around. I went hard at it. So took a big drag of this stogue and then coughed and sputtered and choked. And I know I didn't puke because I'm not a puker. With alcohols, I'm a puker, but no, I'm not much of an alcoholic. But yeah, didn't throw up, but I remember not really needing to smoke cigarettes from that day forward. So I didn't do that. So, shout out to Paul Cote Sr., Paul James Michael Cote. Good old Dadski. Passed on 10 days after my 21st birthday. So he's like, you go be an adult. Go do your adult shit. You don't need me. Go be an adult. So I went and done that. Anyhow, this is PJ Cote with the Golden Age Pauldcast. I have a nice shadow glanced over my eye sockets, and I'm giving all the props to the Erie Seawolves. That is one of my part-time jobs. After this, I'm going to run off to UPMC Park and get behind a video camera. I'm going to film a minor league baseball game that's broadcast live on the MLB Network and MILB and, Seawolves stuff. And so I'm filming that stuff, and hopefully the rain holds out and we can have some baseballs. And yeah, this is what I'm doing with my day off. And we just want to, the podcast in the Golden Age, the idea of the Golden Age is not a new idea. It goes back to, like, I guess you call it new age, new thought, whatever you want to. I hate labels anyway, but just the idea that we're about to transcend the bullshit. Make a t-shirt. Transcending the bullshit. The Golden Age Pauldcast is, celebrating the end of the age of Pisces and the beginning of the age of Aquarius. Now, this is tough for me since I'm a Pisces, so letting go of the age of Pisces, but maybe it's the age of Aquarius, maybe it's for my offspring or for Bella. Maybe Bella will be the one to take over the world, and be in charge of the Golden Age. Yeah, Bella, right here. I just want to get you a little more prominently featured in the podcast. Yeah. See, she's cute. She's a good ambassador for the Golden Age. Perhaps she can, be my spokeslady. Once animals learn to talk, so now let me explain this Joker. Now let me tell you what he has really going on. So the Golden Age Pauldcast is for us to talk about fun stuff, your life, skateboarding, comedy. I'd love to have, comedian skateboarders on. Shout out to Taylor Clark. I kind of forgot to mention him in my audio podcast, but I was like, damn, I got to mention Taylor Clark. Shout out to Pancho Moeller, Wee Man. They have a podcast. They do their own cast. It's not a podcast. See how I've trained myself? They have a show, which I think they're kind of like it's really funny. I think it's great, but I think they gave it the wrong name. I think they should have called it Small Talk. Maybe there's another podcast hosted by Little Humans called Small Talk, but anyhow, shout out to them. I want to hopefully do their show one day, once we all blow up and start, trading off, podcast circle jerks and a, comedy orgy, count me in. I'm on board. In case anyone wondered what my tattoo stands for, what my tat's doing here, please closely examine my tattoo. Now, this tattoo was done by Lance Conklin. Shout out to Lance Conklin. Hopefully we'll have him on the show as a guest or call in or a video. Like at some point when we'll be able to put a screen in here, you can tell it's my first one, If there's a screen, boom, here's Lance Conklin. So there are some people I'm going to shout out now in the off chance that they will see this, and then they're like, okay, you already mentioned me in the show. Maybe I'll come do his podcast. So, Pauldcast. Pauldcast, thank you very much. The Pauldcast, shout out to Lance Conklin. So the reason for this tattoo, it was during the lockdowns when it was not legal to go and get a tattoo in Florida or in St. Petersburg at the time. But it's the logo for Temporary Residence Limited, which is a record label. I started out, I think, in Baltimore and then moved to Brooklyn. And they are a fine purveyor of a lot of music, but a lot that fall into the genre of post-rock. Post-rock is kind of like my bread and butter, like the main stuff that I like. I produce the theme song. I consider it post-rock. Made it myself using GarageBand or something. So I don't claim to be a good producer, but I produce ambient experimental post-rock under the moniker of Cartridge. Cartridge being referenced to a John Cage composition. Anyhow, I have a Bandcamp because that's, I think, the most appropriate if you have, the post-rock or the indie-ish business. So it's cartridge.bandcamp.com. Cartridge, cartridge.bandcamp.com. And all the music is free to download. There's probably a couple hours worth, at least 35 tracks, and then some EPs are hidden in there with some kind of more indie hip-hop kind of leanings, or even electronical, imagine early Moby kind of stuff, not really nothing like that. And I'm sorry for that extended example. I think that's something you do after a while when you've been at the raves in the late 90s doing ecstasy pills and dancing. Like, do your beatboxing. No, Kenny, tell him to do his beatboxing. Do your beatboxing. And like, you know, you're not hip hop. You're not doing a hip hop beatbox. You're like, do your beatboxing. Okay, fine. No, give him the glow sticks. Give him the glow stick. Oh, good God, coffee. Coffee! Yes. Coffee does these things. It affects the coffee. I don't do stem, I only do coffee. No stem for me. No pills, no powders. I just do coffee. Only like coffee. They're like, no, not the techno. Don't do the techno impression. We want the drum and bass. This is what we're at a rave for, drum and bass and hard step jungle. Hello. Like, we're going to need you to do your drum and... I'm like, fine, drum and bass. Here we go. Don't spit on the microphone. Yeah, that was the jungle. I'm peaking right now. My God, I'm rolling so hard. Like, twist me around the living room of this one bedroom apartment in San Jose so the police will get called on us. Come on in, it's techno. We're doing ecstasies. I love me loves E. My God. Ravers. Just don't ask me to do the dubstep impression. No, my God. He said he has a dubstep impression. It's something he's been developing. He developed a dubstep. Do that. Do your dubstep. Fine, I'll do my dubstep. Oh, coffee. Yeah, but it sounds like a robot fight, like robot battle, like you're shooting things with a robot gun. It's like, it's either robot, like war music, like giant 500-foot mech, you know, or stomping through Tokyo shooting laser can, or it's like robo sex music. Not like AI would make it, but like robot sex music. Like, because like in the robot world, the line between like war and sex are like very small. So like it's one or the other. Yeah, I don't get it. But yeah, you meet these girls. They're like, what kind of bands do you like? You like bands? What's your favorite band? I like bands? What's a band? You know, like band, music, guitarist, you know, a band. Oh my God, bands, yeah. No, you know what my favorite music is? I'm like, what's your favorite? I like EDM. I'm like, whoa, EDM, is that like some progressive rock supergroup from the late 70s, a la Styx or Yes? Yes? Yes or no? No, that's silly. It's EDM. It's like electronic dance music. I'm like, oh God, we're about to have this conversation. Today's the day we're having the conversation. Here it is. And then they're like, you know, at first I was like into DJ Fogley Flap, and then he was just into like, he has like Uno's Throat Records. He was into that like, you know, tribicidal, suo psycho, techno trance pop. And I was like, like what? And then after that I got on DJ and then DJ he was in Affable Flap Records, and like he was like putting out that really like hard disco house, like, and I was like grooving to that, and I was like totally like raping my eardrums with his like techno. I'm like, whoa, slow down, like You molested your eardrums? Like, was that consensual, or can I? No, man, like, I loved it. But then he like switched to Alchemist Records, and like, I was like, why are you over in like DJ Floatnom's camp? Like, what's up with Floatnom? He was just never anything like, ah. And then I got into like hard jungle, happy hardcore, trancecore. And I was like, oh my god, that was like that tagged me for like 7 hours at a time. Yeah. I'm like, I just want to talk about music. I'm like, it's his music. You dance to it. You take drugs. You just dance all night. But I was into punk rock. You know, I was a punker. I was a mosh pitter. I often brag that my personal best was 5 stage dives. When you're like 14, you weigh like 94 pounds. Like, it's easy to stage dive. If you're, 48 and weigh 200 plus, they're a little more hesitant to let you like leap upon them in a fit of punk rock ecstasy. When you're 14, you're just like, woo! Like, somewhere there's a picture of me like upside down, where I'm just like, legs are up over my head and like chain wallets probably flying off. And I'm like, got my hat, extra cinched, because you learn before the punk shows, you got to cinch up your shoes and your hat. If you lose your shoe at a punk show, someone will throw it up on stage. That happened once at a Green Day show. Someone like Chuck was thrown up on stage in between. It was right after, it was right before Welcome to Paradise. And someone throws the shoe and it hits the guy, the drummer's, Trey Cool, the drummer, yeah, that was his name. It hits the drummer's cymbal, like crashes the cymbal, and you hear Billy Joe go, holy shit, dude, nice shot. That's what I say, hey man, nice shot. That's where that song inspiration came from. That's just something I made up. Shout out to Lit. Wait, but who did? Oh, no, Filter. Shout out to Filter. Lit Filter, like Lint Filter. Sorry. Lit was a different band. I forget what they did. 90s. But I just found out my favorite band is coming to town for Celebrate Erie. Celebrate Erie being August 16th through 18th here in beautiful Erie, Pennsylvania. Please come out for it. It's great for tourism, especially since the headlining band is my all-time favorite rock and roll band, maybe in the history of rock and rolls. In a warm autumn evening in Tampa, Florida, I went to the skate park at Tampa, and I saw a band. I was really getting into emo core at that time. I had some friends from New Jersey who showed me The Promise Ring, and The Promise Ring's incredible. Other stuff, especially the second record, Very Emergency, which is like pop, emo. It's brilliant. But the Promise Ring are playing something. I'm going to go to skate park at Tampa, and they performed on the Pyramid. And the opening act was a band from Mesa, Arizona, who just gotten signed to Capitol Records. They'd been like 2 weeks like on their label. I think it was like the first shipment that they'd sent to like a venue was like these Advance Records. And so I bought their first album called Static Prevails, and then I bought their EPs. I pretty much cleaned them out of everything. And then I'm just like, you guys are going to be the best. And they are called Jimmy Eat World, and they're still called Jimmy Eat World. And I saw them that day in 96 for, opening act for The Promise Ring. I mean, they resisted the title of emo, but power off. They resisted the title of emo, but it's even my speaker power's off when I try to accuse Jimmy Eat World of being emo. But they're not. They're a rock band. They're just a rock band, pure and simple, and the best rock band, in my opinion, and have kept it going and continually put out better and better and better music over the years. And their deep cuts are incredible. Their EPs, all the early stuff, Stay on My Side Tonight, pretty much everything they do is great. Their production is always top notch. So yeah, I'm really excited for Celebrate Erie. And that's a thing that's going to be in August. And hopefully the homies from Florida, I'm trying to get Bob Bacon and Andrew King and Marcus Jaliber. Marcus is my favorite skater. Hopefully, I'm pretty good at video, so maybe at this time I could be like putting a video up right now of Marcus. Maybe he's like doing that crooked grind or kickflip crooked grind at 7 a.m. with dew on the ground, first try at the St. Pete skate park on the Monolith. Maybe I'll be smart enough to do that. Or if not that clip, some other Marcus clip that maybe something I filmed is just going to be right there. And then, it's not like anyone's looking at a slumbering pooch. We can intersperse Marcus. I'm a big advocate of that dude, so hopefully you can come out here and we want to film a VX park. I'm a skateboard filmer, so hopefully we will have some people on to talk about skate filming and filming skateboarding, since I've been doing that since the early 90s. I still have my VX.3 high 8.3 chip at home, and I have a VX 2000, which I think is my favorite of the VXs, with a Mark 1 Century Optics lens with just one dainty little scratch on it. I'm going to get a little closer here. Let's get a little closer here. I'm still working out the kinks here for the inaugural video Golden Age Pauldcast. Obviously, you can tell it's pretty low key. I'm appropriately shadowed. I don't really think I want too many people to stare me down, so I'm gonna wear this hat so I look real dangerous and kind of wearing a frown. It sort of make you think I'm a negative creep, but I ain't. I just smoked a little ganja before this podcast and feeling kind of faint. Woohoo! All right, that was a freestyle song, but it's true, autobiographical. Shout out to the Erie Seawolves, Eastern League champions, the Erie Seawolves. Shout out to them. I'm going to go work the game after this. Hopefully I don't get there late because I'm busy making a podcast. But, we got to do what we got to do, self-promote, right, Producer Bella? So a little bit more about me, in case maybe this is the first time you've seen me and you ain't listened to the podcast on the audio, number 1 or number 2. I think I'm probably going to dump all these out at once. So PJ Cote, I'm one of twins, identical twins. I'm a homeschooled twin from Florida. That becomes obviously once you get to know me, but got good vibration. People like me, strangers. I make friends easily. I probably overcompensated a lot being homeschooled. Like at 3 o'clock, we are running down to the skate shop, and I'm going to go people and try to get me a girlfriend. And skateboarding has always been a part of my life since I was extremely young, probably 11 or 12. Some people started earlier than that, but I started in California. One of my cousins, Peter Cote, shout out to Peter, had like a Jeff Phillips Sims, and it was in the garage, and he wasn't really using it. It had the big Powell conical wheels on it, the early 80s ones that were plentiful in the late 80s as overstock. And we borrowed his board and took it back to the RV park in Lake Elsinore, California, 88. And yeah, it's probably early 88. And we were with some friends out in the desert, out in Lake Elsinore, and we found a jump ramp, like a wooden jump ramp that was just in the middle of the desert. Probably some kids were using it for bikes or whatever, so we just snagged that jump ramp, and they had the jump ramp in the RV park. So there's like, RV parks aren't always paved. There's like concrete slabs where you make as a porch, kind of park next to it, and then there's just like a golf cart path kind of in between, and it's dirt. So I took the launch ramp, and then we built a flat bar out of 12-foot flat bar out of PVC pipes, like dual PVC pipes. So, back in the day, you didn't do metal ones, you did PVC. Shout out to whoever is still making PVC flat bars and just board slide across them and do cannonball grabs. And so I set up the launch ramp at the end of the concrete pad, and then the rail, the PVC flat bar, I laid it at the very top in the middle, and it was just long enough to get past the dirt and onto the golf cart path for rollaway. So and still people don't even believe me to this day when I tell the stories. I was by myself, but at one point I went up the launch ramp and board slid down across the PVC and landed in the golf cart path, and that was my first skateboard trick, was a handrail. So shout out to me for my first trick being a handrail. I think the first flat gun trick I learned was a no comply. My friend Tristan, he was a gangbanger, he's a Crip, and we went to the schoolyard in Lake Elsinore, and he taught me no complies on a bank. And that's a hard first trick if you're learning how to skate. No, here's the first trick you're going to learn if you can do no comply. This was people were ollieing into stuff, but in early 88, no comply was the trick. So he taught me how to do no comply. I remember doing it on like, some super wide fish. I think he had a Nodus. Yep, that's right. He had a Nodus SMA. Shout out to Nodus. Oscar put down the knife. If I do have a dream guest for the Golden Age Pauldcast, it would be Nodus. 101 skateboard is always one of my favorites growing up. So, I just started skateboarding. I got my first board in Brandon. I bought a Nodus, or not Nodus, the Lance Crest, yellow stained Lance Crest. And it was on, pretty soon the skate shop was like, you got to film. If you want to get sponsored by our shop, you got to film a video part. So I'm like, all right, what do we do? Well, we got onto the rent-to-own center, and we got ourselves a VHS cam, and we hit up like Adorama or B&H, probably Adorama. And in New York City, you just go to this cash and carry, and you get like a photography magazine. You find the 1-800 number for Adorama or B&H, which I think there's both might still be around. And then you go and you order it, and it was like $45 shipped, maybe 50 for a fisheye lens. And you have to have the right O-rings, the right rings. That's how you got the wider vignettes if you had to use a step-up ring. Shout out to Dave Schlossbach, Step-Up Ring Productions. And you film. And we had our VHS camera with a fisheye, and was screwed onto the end, and we just filmed at the local curb. I learned nose blunts and little slap. We do curb dances, they call them. We like ollie to 50-50 to Smith to lip slide. And then you might pop it on a front board or, just like different combos. Oh, Bella's going in for the crutch. Bella, that's not, let's turn you around. That's not appropriate. It's not appropriate for the podcast. Lick your crotch that way, Bella. You're supposed to do your personal ablutions elsewhere, not during the podcast time. Sorry, I didn't mean to shame you for your hygiene. You about bus. Let's go over here. Come on, man. Don't put her in my lap. She likes being with me. That's your mark to put with me. So anyway, this is the podcast. I'm PJ Cote, co-starring Bella Ace. What would you like to say, Bella? I let my dog kiss my mouth, and I don't care if you're going to press the back button now. It's great. We love each other very much. We're kind of codependent. Me and Bella Ace. Bella Ace and I. You just sit there and look pretty. You're just pretty up there, Splash, while I continue with my podcast. Anyway, so, with life, you have distractions. Wandering dogs. But, so I've been pretty much skateboarding my whole life. I got sponsored by the shop, and then when I got sponsored by the shop, pretty quickly, you're a kid, you want to get sponsored by a board company. So we had all these tapes, so like, well, who am I going to send it to? My brother was already doing Powell because my twin brother, he was a more technical skater than me. Like, I wanted to do a nice Smith grind. He's like, I'm going to 360 flip the tail grab. Like, we just have different ways of skating, like, he was on Powell. It was perfect for that because this was like the mini ramp era. Powell, Gershon's doing a hard flip to Indy, and Chris is doing a switch frontside flip to Indy fakie and a half cab flip to fakie on a quarter. They were great tricks, but that was that era of Powell that Chris was in. And meanwhile, I wanted to be like Indy guy. Like they had offered me, like, well, we got a sponsorship, co-sponsor, like shop flow thing for GNS. You want to write for GNS? I'm like, oh, GNS, come on. That's an old company. They're from like the 70s, right? GNS. I'm like, no, GNS is cool. They got Willie Santos. They got all these dudes. I'm like, you have like Kenny Anderson. Shout out to Skeetles. Kenny Anderson. Clearweather Skateboarding. Come here, Bella. Get your ass back here. Come here. Come here, Squirt. Come here. And so I turned down GNS, which was I kind of regret. Because Dave, the owner of the shop, Cove Skate and Surf, ended up giving out the sponsorship to another kid on the team named Andrew Reynolds. I'm not sure if you've heard of that name or, whatever happened to that guy, Andrew Reynolds, once he got on GNS. Oh, yeah, that's right. The team manager left shortly thereafter with like Ocean Howell and Andrew Reynolds and Willie Santos and all those dudes, and started Birdhouse, and then, we're in from there, so no regrets here, no regrets turning down GNS, but I wanted to ride for a hip new company, so I wanted to get on a company called Color, because my favorite dude was still is Jeremy Ray. Shout out to Jeremy Ray. Shout out to Jonas Ray too. Rest in peace, Jonas. But Jeremy Ray was always my inspiration because he would like catch his flips. He was really good at heel flips. He's really good at frontside flips. And I early emulated my own frontside flips after how Jeremy Ray did them. So shout out to Jeremy Ray. And I wanted to write for Color. So I got on Color. And I was getting boards from them, just like flow packages, like I was getting boxes, but, I wasn't in any ads or, on the team officially, I don't guess. But the Color lasted maybe like maybe a year and a half, I don't know. And then after Color, I didn't have a sponsor, so I was like, all right, Dave, well, there goes my sponsor. Like, what's next, Big Wave Dave? And so during the other distribution, I think Color was also distributed by Skaters Union. So it was like, Skaters Union for you. If you knew Dave Latart, Big Wave Dave, that was a spun on Dave Latart.
Hey, we got Powell on the phone. We got Powell. We need to put in an order to Powell Peralta.
He was from Kentucky, right? So he's like, we got this other thing. It was like, well, what's Skaters Union? He's like, what's a wheel company? And then like, well, what was the other board brand? Well, now they have a company called 6040, and that's Mark Gonzalez's new concern. I'm like, yeah, Mark Gonzalez, I heard of him. All right, I will ride for 6040. So then I just started like talking to 6040 directly and chatting with. I was basically like, if you had to categorize it in any ways, like there's like shop sponsor, and then there's like flow, and there's like rep flow, which is kind of like your sales rep flows you. I was one step beyond that. I was like warehouse guy flow. Like shout out to whoever the warehouse dude was for Skaters Union in like 94, because like we were pals. Like I would chat with him, we'd do stuff together. He was super cool, and he would send me boxes. I would get 6040 decks. I would get wheels, Skaters Union wheels. I'd get Union shirts and hats. Yeah, it was rad. So that didn't last very long. Maybe I would say a year. I think it was all at 6040, maybe 2 years. So after that, I was fresh out of sponsors. But at that point, I was pretty much just filming full time, doing the filming. And then I enjoyed filming, and I was filming with guys like John Buchanan and Nate Jones. Shout out to those dudes. And Andrew, I would try to get Andrew Reynolds, but he was like in Lakeland, and we were on the same shop team, but he had like kind of different cliques that he ran with. He was with Robbie Bassford and Clay King. Shout out to those dudes. Victor Dizaki. And he had his own clique, it was cool, the people he chilled with. And we all made friends from Facile. I was in the Facile, the Florida Amateur Skateboard League. So for about 3 or 4 years, I was in Facile. And me and my brother was kind of trade off first or second in our division, 2A, 3A, all the way up. And then, the Facile, you'd see guys like in these contests, you'd see on the deck lined up, you'd see Andrew Reynolds, you'd see Dave Duran, you'd see Clyde Singleton. Shout out to Clyde. You'd see Bear Hughes, you'd see Chris Markovich, you'd see Jamie Thomas, because he lived in Alabama. You'd see him come to the Facile contests. Who else? Kane Gale, you'd see just dudes you really looked up to, who would go on to either move to California or like make their moves elsewhere. So you'd see all those dudes in the Facile contests, and I got Skater of the Year for like 93 or something like that. One of the last years they were doing Facile. So yeah, Facile was fun. I did a lot of contests. I judged a bunch. I announced a bunch, and filming in between. So it's been fun, man. I haven't said skateboard filming has made me much money, but it's made me a lot of friends. And I'd love to have some guests on the show that want to talk about skateboarding and filming and how they intersect with art and music. And yeah, the Golden Age Pauldcast can be like that sort of thing, right? A lot of skateboarding, a lot of comedy, and like art, and where those worlds intersperse. That's where these worlds will be interspersing with one another's interspersal. That's a saucy and spicy word. Interspersing sounds like a sexual activity. Intersperse. Anyway, but yeah, it's celebrating. It's like we're not talking about what's going to happen in the world or the tumultuousness or all the means to an end. The Golden Age is celebrating transcending that and already acting as if it's already been resolved. I don't believe in anything other than the future that I want to hold. You say hold the vision. So hold on to the vision of what the futures can entail. Right now, the present is a thing, but the present, that's why it's called the present, because it's a gift. It's the present. It's a present to us that we need to realize that anything that might seem on the surface negative is just a means to an end, that we're about to, transcend the bullshit. Not even we're about to, we already have. Like, the Golden Age is about acknowledging that all this stuff has been done. And in the world, when you meet friends and you go out in the world and you talk to people, people get along. They love each other. They love Bella. They people get along. They agree for the most part. Even if they don't agree, they don't kill each other over it. Like agree to disagree. Like this is a world where like getting offended is like passe now. Like I don't want to say I want to shame people for being offended, but I want to just be like, getting offended is like so 2014. Like getting offended, like you like to get offended, like as if that person wrote a joke with you in mind. Like you could write a joke about a homeschooled twin from Tampa, which I check all those boxes. I'm not going to get butthurt. You didn't write that with me in mind. And if you did, God love you, man. You're really that into me that you're writing jokes about me? God love you. Hashtag, no, I will not make out with you. Sorry, but I'll make out with you. I'll make out with you, but yeah, not them. That's funny when people like start going into your comments, like if you're arguing with somebody and then, if you've won, then they start with the ad hominems, the personal attacks and stuff. I love that part because then they're like, you can tell they're already so they're like attacking you, but they don't really have anything to attack, so they're just kind of grasping at straws. Like last year, I got a leather jacket, like a motorcycle jacket, so I could like, go through the winter without looking like a overstuffed Oompa Loompa, whatever, in those puffy jackets. And this motorcycle jacket over here, huh? He's like dug deep into my Facebook, right? Look at this guy in his motorcycle jacket. Man, probably never even rode a motorcycle in his whole life. So self-satisfied. And I was like, okay, you can play that game. So I started looking at his account. I was like, oh, look at this guy in his baseball hat. Ooh, oh, how many RBIs this season, Honus? Can I get your tobacco card, Mr. Wagner? Oh, what's your ERA? We're like, see somebody, like, they got some jeans on, you see boxers. Oh, he's got boxer shorts on. Look at this guy in his boxer shorts. When's the next bout, Roberto? Oh, yeah, please tell me more about the sweet science whenever you can. TKO. Body blow, uppercut. Knock him out. Shout out to Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson's Punch-Out original Nintendo version. It had like a button. The knockout button was like this red giant nuclear attack button that just like uppercut. Yeah. Anyway, I forgot where I was going with that line of thought, but let's just keep it rolling on the spindle. This is the Golden Age Pauldcast. We're continuing to talk about transcending the bullshit and how that happens. We're just here now in the present and the eternal moment of now. Because, it's hard, like meeting a girl and then going to meet her parents and then trying to tell her parents that like time doesn't exist. Yeah, they don't want to hear that. Like, I don't know. Turns out everything we believed was a lie, Marge. Yeah, this guy, he's a podcast. I seen it on the YouTube. Yep. He told me everything I ever believed was a lie. The whole thing was a lie. We've been bamboozled, Martha. Can you believe it? The whole thing's a lie. He told me that everything I ever been dressed up to believe has been a fabrication. Shit. I don't know what to think no more, Norma. Let's go out to the field and get us some poppies. We need to have some opium. We need to get our head right. Let's go get some peyote from that special corner of the field. Let's go. Field. Everything's a lie. I'm not really trying to tell you everything you believe is a lie. I'm just saying, like, why do you believe so hardcore what you believe? Like, why not believe in alternate ideas of what your universe might be? Maybe it's a little different than you thought. Maybe there are UFO or off-planet, other planet interactions that we're not informed of. Maybe there's fun stuff going. Like, why not believe in fun stuff for the future? Fun shit could happen. Maybe it's not all going to hell. If it's all going to hell, let's go play in traffic. What do we need to hold out hope for? What's the point of holding out hope if it's all going to shit, right? If it's only getting worse? Like, the last I heard, evolution was a thing that went in that direction up. I mean, did I not get the, oh, things are getting worse. Like, if you watch the fear porn, then I guess perhaps that's true. Things are getting worse. But, you know, I don't buy into fear porn. Fear porn is, you know, impending doom, and it has lots of different packages. So I'm not even going to get involved in examples of impending doom. But anything that's fear porn, anything that states not enough. I don't think fear is here for us to have a not enough mind state about our world. Fear is here, like, if somebody opens the door and shocks the shit out of you because you're, like, trying to, you know, you don't expect them to show up. That seems like a proper application of fear. But, like, to say that there's not enough money or there's not enough time or there's not enough land. Y'all been to Wyoming? Y'all been to Montana? Y'all been to Nevada? You could go to Utah, you mean tell me there's not enough land? There's enough. I know you're bored. It sucks for you, huh? It's like, I'm a dog. I don't like conversation. You want to sing, Bella? You want to sing with me? It's like, I'm not a show dog, bro. But yeah, it means that we do get along. We have transcended the bullshit. Peace is upon us. Things have already happened. It's already happening. It's not happening. It's, you know, a cycle. There's a 24,900 year cycle. And we're at the end of it. We're on the precipice. We're on the precipice. We're on the precipice of goodness. It's the golden age where, you know, less bills, more fun. I want to work a little bit. Like, I don't mind going to work, but, like, the last 2 hours of work, I'm like, I'm not supposed to be here for 8 hours. I'm a human being, and I don't think I should be doing this shit for 8 hours at a clip. Sorry. I think humans are better than that. I think our worth is more than 8 hours a day for them, doing things we don't necessarily want to do for 40 hours a week for however many days a year with this many days off. I got 6 paid vacation days this year. I feel like I'm really blessed and treated. In other countries, it's like, okay, by law, you get like 3 weeks. So what are you talking about? But it's not about countries, you know. It's just like, I appreciate what I have, but I know that as a human, what I deserve, that it's better than that, that it's more than that. As a human being, we deserve more free time to pursue the stuff we want to do for fun, hanging out with our aminals, living this life. So yeah, that's just my job as the Golden Age, is to remind people what their worth is as humans, as souls that didn't choose to be here, people that have decided to be here and have a human experience. And like one of my favorites was like Alan Watts. And I put it as a, well, I didn't put it, my buddy put it in a promo for his video that he put at the end of my video called Orange, my full-length skate video called Orange. If you want to watch that, you can check it on the Golden Age TV show, which is the YouTube channel, the Golden Age TV show, or just look me up on YouTube. And at the end, he's like, you know, the idea is that we're gods, but we've forgotten we're gods. We're pretending like we're not. We're play acting like we're not gods, like we haven't figured it out. We're playing at being gods, but we've forgotten. And the quote unquote fun of it is the forgetting. You know, so we try to, I guess, figure out how to make the forgetting fun, how to make the struggle fun, how to make the heartache fun, how to make the human life more fun in a way that is not always fun. Sit down, Bella. Just sit down. Can you just relax? You got a little bit more time for podcasting. Thank you for producing the show so well. She's guarding the perimeter, Bella Ace. And she's also not the best at listening. So there she goes. So I'll tell you this. I have a great background in, you know, skateboarding, which is kind of created, you know, a lot of the, brought me into the creative arts. You know, when I moved to California, I first started writing, and then I started painting immediately. As soon as I got to California, that vibration took over, and published author now, and self-published author, and I have one thing published. I did get 4 pages in a book called No Comply, and it was like Skateboarding Speaks series. They were talking about your essays about your experiences with law enforcement and authority figures as a skater. So if you look up the book No Comply, it's available pretty much everywhere. But Mark Johnson's in it, Carl Watson's in it, Papalardo's in it, Rob Brink is in it, a lot of skateboarding journalists, Jesse Van Rockhout was in it, a lot of good dude, Jim Gray wrote something for it, Satva, Kier, a lot of cool dudes from the city wrote in it. Shout out to Chris Long, Fun Not Fame Productions. I don't know whatever happened to Chris. I haven't heard from him in years, but if you see this or hear this somewhere, Chris Long, please hit me up because I still want to do more books. He wanted to do a second book after No Comply and call it, I forget what he's going to call it, but he's going to something about like skateboarders' experiences with spiritual, paranormal, things of that sort. So I thought that would be a great follow-up, and I would still love to do that. So maybe with Chris Long's okay, or maybe just do it alone. I might eventually have to crank up Fun Not Fame Productions again and do some books, collected works from different skaters writing about stuff. So shout out to Walker Ryan too, who put out his book, fiction. One day I'm going to follow your lead and write a skate book, and then we'll have a whole like skate lit like side niche, that phrase I just made up, in the literary world, right? Because skateboarders deserve to be known as, creatives outside of just skating, Shout out to some of the more creative skaters. Shout out to Broussard, Nate Broussard. He's one of my favorites. If you're out there, Nate Broussard, give me a holler. He's one of my favorite dudes in terms of just pure style and like doing simpler tricks, but making it to where you didn't want to see a more complicated trick. I love Nate. Shout out to Strange Love. I think this is Max Murphy's graphic, if I'm not mistaken. Sean Cliver, Nick Halkias, Nick Matlin, all the dudes involved with Strange Love. For a while, I worked with Nick I worked after Nick Matlin, but I was working for the Satori movement and Creation Skateboards and Satori movement wheels. That was a lot of fun. That yellow brand was still going on for a little bit when I was working there. Shout out to Baby Lamb and all the dudes, Craig and all the dudes at Satori. They're super cool. De La, Robin, Zach, all those dudes. They're a bunch of cool dudes. Satori was rad. It was a fun time living in San Francisco or living in Oakland. I lived in downtown Oakland. I'd take the BART every morning with my cruiser, my Franken cruiser. And I would dip that out from downtown Oakland all the way to the Mission. And I'd skate, figure out a nice downhill route to the warehouse, and go sell skateboards all day. So that's what I did. I was a domestic sales dude for inside sales for Satori, for the movement, for the Iman. I guess that's where I learned how to do dance hall. So yeah, I was listening to reggae music on the way over and just doing my dance hall style. That's my secret fantasy, is like being a dance hall performer. You hear these reggae rock guys and there's like, whoa, whoa, here's a and I'm just like, like I'm a little bit more raga, rough and rugged with the reggae style, man. So yeah, we're what, an hour in? Are we like an hour in? Hour 4 in the Golden Age Pauldcast. It's the Golden Age Pauldcast. I'm excited. I'm happy to be here. My name is PJ Cote. I'm originally from Tampa Bay. Y'all ever been to Tampa Bay? Tampa Bay, Florida. Grew up in a lot of trailers. If it had wheels, I lived in it. That's something I like to say. If it had wheels, I lived in it. And I'm throwing ice to my dog. She's munching it. Yeah, grew up in trailers, cucarachas, skateboarding, and then, moved to California, wrote a book. It took me till 2011 to finally put it out, but I made a book. It's called Everything Up to Now. And I was trying to force myself to include all the pieces of writing I ever produced. So Everything Up to Now was put out in 2011, and then a couple years later, I did a copy and paste of all my diary entries on the MySpace, and I made a second book called Everything After That. So that's logical, right? Everything After That. And after that, I made some coffee table books, photo books. After that, I finished my coffee, made it slurp. Some people think that's rude. Well, I don't. Wait, Bella, that's nice. Anyway, skateboarding probably introduced me to creative arts. And I grew up with comedy, obviously. Stephen Wright was a big influence. I love his deadpan. I wish I could be like a one-liner type comic, or at least try to develop a one-liner personality or some kind of character. Robin Williams, obviously. I love Mitch Hedberg. As a young adult, like young stoner, Mitch Hedberg was very perfect for what you want at that time. Bill Hicks, obviously. I was raised on, more like indie-ish writers. I read a lot of Bukowski, Kurt Vonnegut, Hunter Thompson. So I think I got a good flair for the, counterculture or the stream of consciousness type stuff. But yeah, as far as comedy, I was always into, Norm. I didn't realize his genius till a lot later when I really started getting into Norm before he passed. So Bill Hicks, obviously I mentioned him, Bill Burr. Louis C.K. is a genius, probably one of the best to ever do it. Really admire Louis. And, comics that, even Odenkirk, like he's such a deadpan, like he's funny in a way that's kind of hard to quantify. But I love him. Brian Regan, it's really hard to like listen to Brian Regan because then he just starts influencing everything you say. Same with Harlan Williams, like you love him, but like you gotta not watch him as much because then he'll start creeping into your own comedy. Certain comics have ways of doing that to where you don't even want to listen to them. Now with like Norm passing away, like sometimes I'll like be lamenting or praying or like, kind of like yelling at God sometimes for like whatever lack of things, whatever lack of blessings I've experienced, whatever I'm forgetting to be, thankful for that day. And I'd be like, screw you, dude. God over here disappoint me all the time. So lonely. I got nothing going on. No good women in my life. What's going on, God? And now God answers in the voice of Norm, right? So the other day I'm mad. I'm like, what's going on, God? But never brought me anyone good. What's the deal? And God answers me and goes, what are you talking about, guy? What about all those fat girls I brought you, huh? What about that, decades long, uninterrupted string of fat girls, big old fat girls I sang. You don't want any of those? What gives? That was my poor impression of Norm. But now it kind of feels good knowing that Norm is the voice of the deity. Speaking of the voice of the deity, the other day I was on a phone conversation and this lady called me from an insurance company, and at the end of the call she goes, "Thank you for trusting the Lord." I'm like, what? I'm like, that was not something that was authorized by her managers. They're like, QA got the call, like, yeah, Sylvia's saying it again. She's saying it again, yeah. She's saying thank you for trusting the Lord. And at first I was like confused. I'm like, what Lord is she talking about? Like the one almighty creator? Like at first I thought she was talking about Lord Farquaad. Lord Farquaad. Thank you for trusting the Lord. Like a Sith Lord? Like I was confused because like it was out of context. Like I guess I do trust the Lord. I trust the Lord. I trust her. I trust Jah, Rastafari. I'm not religious though, but I just don't think it takes religion or anything or believing in deities. I think maybe just believing in something like that's not you. I think it's just important to believe in something that isn't you so you don't get all narcissistical. Like there's something else. Like I don't know if it's judging you. I don't know if it's telling you you're good, bad, or otherwise, or even has like a dog in that race. Maybe they're just, I just think we're here to experience, not even experience joy, just experience, right? We're here to forget that we're gods. Like we can't just conjure up a chicken fried steak dinner and just sit it in our lap. We can't do that. We have to go and earn a chicken fried steak dinner and suffer and complain about the price of the chicken fried steak. That's too tough. Where's the pepper? First world problems, huh? Can't even enjoy your chicken fried steak, can you, buddy? What a world we live in. So I hope I'm doing this right. Like, we're trying to get the distance right. This is the first time attempt at the Golden Age Pauldcast. I'm not even facing forward. We're doing it. Look at this drab background. I can't even key this shit out afterwards. Well, maybe I could. But yeah, I'm not gonna worry about that. I'm just gonna continue with golden aging until I feel like I'm done. I think we're gonna shoot for an hour and a half. That's what I'm aiming for. I can keep this entertaining, but you got to provide value. You know, you can't just tell me your background. If you want to learn how to skate film, I can send you my article. I wrote it, you know, in the late 2000s. You want to learn how to skate film? There's some content I can provide you. I'm, you know, doing this comedy every Saturday night, and it's really cool seeing people. Shout out to all the people involved with Comedy As You Are. Scotty G's been a big help. He's was the first interview, and he's you know, comedy legend for Erie, Pennsylvania. As much as you could say that, he's been doing it since the 80s. The Funny Bone, Cincinnati, Ohio. See, I remember stuff, Scotty G. Hopefully we get him on for the video podcast. He says he has a face for radio, though, so I don't know about that. Maybe we'll have to put some makeup on him, or at least a hat like mine that glances at menacing shadow over his face so he can look evil with me. And shout out to all the people who've come out already. There's been dudes from Buffalo, from Cleveland, you know, some open mic guys who've only done a few. Shout out to Goog. Shout out to Chris Nick. I would like to see Tyler out there again. Anna came up. She said she's got some more material, and she doesn't even do comedy. So it really should be something that's inviting for others, for somebody who maybe has never done comedy or wanted to do comedy, or even just has a story like, hey, there's this one joke I can tell, or this one story. Like, it doesn't have to be formatted like a joke. You have to be willing to go up and show your ass. Well, not literally, but go up and give it a try. To like, I'm going to try this joke. If it works, it works. You know, I'm going to tell them some dad jokes for my kids. Maybe it'll inspire their confidence for their SATs next month. Whatever your justification or rationalization it is, we'd like to have you out there. There's no charge. There's nothing. You just cruise in. You do the podcast, you do the comedy night, you know, if everything works out, then you can come in here. We can get you on the show. If there's any comedians coming to town, Whitney Cummings, anybody specific, and they want to come in and sit in a drab studio, I think there's a different studio for larger groups. But Whitney Cummings, or anybody, you know, the other comedians that are coming to town in the next month or two that would like to join Bella and I on the podcast, we'd love to have you for the Golden Age Pauldcast. And you're like, what's the Golden Age? And I'm like, maybe I can explain it better if somebody's like querying me with the deets of the Golden Age. But it's nothing that hasn't already been talked about, you know, and foretold in the galactic history of, you know, how things have been. That, you know, some stuff will be revealed soon. It'll be fun. You know, I don't believe in any of this coming up to it, revealing, talking about badness, darkness, you know, darkness imprisoning me. All I see. Nope, not for me. I don't, you don't acknowledge the darkness, because that feeds the beast. You never feed the beast. You always have to feed energy to the stuff that deserves feeding. So that's what the Golden Age is going to do. It's going to feed the peace. Laughs, camaraderie, not thinking about current state of affairs, but looking forward into the next level, where we have transcended the bullshit, as I like to continue to say. So I guess that's going to be another thing. I'm finding lines and turns of phrase that will be pertinent to the Golden Age Pauldcast. Stuff like, small talk sucks. That's another thing that was pioneered in the olden yore audio days when we did the audio podcast, the last 2 episodes. Small talk sucks. We'll have a graphic pop up. Small talk sucks. Small talk sucks. Or just some kind of like bell, like, you know, Richard Dawson survey says. And you know the sound effect. Insert sound effect. But we're not doing post shit yet, remember? Yeah, we're just hanging. That's what we're here for. You're an individual who does comedy, who's a skater, who's a dignitary, who's an Erie local. I told my favorite barbecue place, the Q Abides. I told Tim I'd like to have him on. So if you hear this, Tim, that's a shout out. That's your call. If you want to be L first guest on the video podcast and bring us some burnt ends to sample, we can stick them in the camera lens. But you could have some fun with some barbecue. Maybe bring a spread. That way I get to eat. And that would be my we're doing a food review with me and a dog. So Bella, she enjoys the burn ends as well. So let's burn it up. Tim Grow hit me back. The Q Abides, best barbecue in Erie. Worth the drive. If they do a food truck, it's worth seeking out that food truck. Go get the Q Abides or settle for lesser quality barbecue. That's up to you. The Q Abides is a Big Lebowski inspired restaurant, which was reason enough to give them your business, if not for their superior food experience of barbecue-ness. So go do that. Report back to me, and hopefully we'll get them on the show for some positive viral marketing in my soon-to-be globally spreading podcast of peace, love, cooperation, and camaraderie. We'll have a lot of the Golden Age graphics. Golden Age graphics popping up right over there, one over there, one over there, one up there, one in the corner. We're going to do the thing. I'm already sitting on all these Photoshop graphics that I've been doing since like 09. The Golden Age since 09. Perhaps for the next video I'll be wearing a Golden Age t-shirt. So I'll toot my horn, ain't nobody's gonna toot it for me here. So life is good, man. Living in Erie, Pennsylvania, and you gotta wonder, what is the radness of Erie? Well, I'm fixing to extol you on the virtues of the beauty of what it is to be an Erieite. It's Erie, PA. There's a family vibe here. It's come here, dog. Come here. This guy's trying to chase around in a 7 foot square room. Hi, Bella. It's a small town vibe. The energy's good. Oh my God, where's your palm? The vibe's good. The people are good. There's a lot of great local venues. The music scene this year is dope. It's like a lot of the bands here, like really great underground music, good metal scene, good punk scene. They got some reggae rock bands. Every show is cool because it seems like 4 different genres of bands will play. There'll be a hardcore band, a punk band, a reggae band, and they're all just kind of like coexisting in the same like venues. Shout out to Basement Transmissions. That's a nice venue out here. Shout out to good local businesses. The bars I frequent, the Jekyll and Hyde, Calamari. Shout out to Sean Brown. Obviously the original, the Plymouth. Shout out to everybody at the Plymouth. And I like to go to Philly's on the Rocks for a good Philly cheesesteak. You can get a cheesesteak and a beer at 11:30 at night. Not a lot of places in the area can you get food and a beer late at night. Shout out to the Primanti brothers. People are like, oh, it's corporate. Oh, it's corporate food. Like, no, it isn't. It's a franchise, but it's like a Pittsburgh thing, I guess, being a Floridian. I don't have a lot of Pittsburgh experiences, but that's a pretty great sandwich. Anyone have the PB Reuben? It's like a Reuben. It's grilled. They grill the coleslaw. And then Bella and I sit there, like I walk in, they go, service animal? I go, yep. And we sit down, and I just pull pieces of greasy meat off the whole time, and she eats them. So it's a synergistic experience between the two of us. And, I bring Bella everywhere and see how people feel about it. And most of the time, people are cool. And we give, our business to those who are cool with her too. So there's, we walk pretty much every day. We traverse from my place on the bayfront. We just cruise basically a concentric circle all the way down to like Parade or even, Plum Raspberry all the way down there, 4 or 5 miles a day. And even when we get home, she still plops down in the yard, doesn't want to go back inside. So she's an outdoor dog. And, I try my best to clean up after, sometimes when she's out there pooping. If it's a place where, like, there's nobody looking, maybe it's, like, out away from where people would step. Sometimes you just kind of, like, take a stick and push it under a bush. But You know, I don't like to always have to use a bag, picking up her poop in a bag that's like, you know, going to landfill for 10,000 years. So if I can ever do it in a way that's inoffensive, but also like intellectually satisfying, I call it the leave it alone. I'll take a big leaf and cover the poo. That's the leave it alone policy. But sometimes you want something a little better. So if I can find a piece of bark somewhere, I'll put it under a piece of bark. Put it under a piece of bark. So that joke didn't land well. Reception for that joke was woof. Was that a dad joke, Bella? Woof. Yeah, a good dad joke, and it's an original, so I'm going to foist my dad joke on you. This is the Golden Age Pauldcast. We're providing content, okay? I didn't bring like a short sheet of like cheats of like words and things that I'm supposed to say. Like this is a freestyle. This is an hour, 21-minute long freestyle so far. You know, but here's my dad joke before I forget. I heard that when corals, you know, when a coral gets stressed, I heard that when a coral gets stressed, it dies due to stress. So I thought, what could possibly stress out a coral? And then it came to me. Easy. Current events. Pressing back button on browser now, says everybody. Please don't leave me on account of my dad joke. We've already invested an hour and 20 together. We're shooting for an hour and a half. Don't leave me now just because I told a dad joke. Come on, look. I've got kind of a dad countenance. What do you expect from me? I'm PJ Cote, and this is the Golden Age Pauldcast. Once again, we're broadcasting live from Erie, Pennsylvania, the northwest tip, near beautiful downtown Northeast. We're close to Northeast. What if you live in a town named Northeast? Can you imagine that? You're from Northeast Pennsylvania. Your town doesn't even have a name. It's just directional. If you're like an unimaginative person, do you move to Northeast? Yeah, I can't think straight. I can't really have any original thoughts to myself. I think we'll go move to Northeast. Mr. John Smith, you moving to Northeast? Yes, I'm John Smith, moving to Northeast. Your name is directional. I wonder why it's Northeast. Like, I wonder if the town founder was named Johnny Kadlubab Bolinski. I'm sorry, we couldn't call it Kadlubab Bolinski Ville. We would have gone over our sign by the Kadlubab Bolinski Ville. Our sign would have been 13 feet long. I'm sorry. Sorry, Mr. Kadlubab Ville. I can't remember then. It's a tough name to remember. Come on. Kadlubab Ville. Bella, have you ever been to Kadlubab Ville? No, but I've been to Northeast, Dad. She's been to Northeast because we drove through. Shout out to Northeast Pennsylvania. And I'm not giving a shout out to a general vicinity. I'm giving a shout out to a specific town, a specific hamlet. If you're a winery in Northeast Pennsylvania and you want to sponsor the show for wine and send the wine, and I'll foist a bottle of wine and drink straight out of the bottle like a classy guy. Any wineries in Northeast, hit me up. I'm always looking for sponsors, but I don't think I'm going to do many like ads. Like I might like pop a graphic up here like, by the way, drink this wine. But I probably won't be like, so this wine, carefully grown in a vineyard in 178 degrees and was only fermented in a vat or something, and it's 20% off. There's a coupon code of Dunka Bar. That's 1% off, 20% off when you use the coupon code Dunka Bar 24. Thank you for your order. VintageWaterWines.com. I don't think I'm going to do that. I don't, God love every other cast that isn't a podcast or a pauldcast, as it were here, that has their ways of advertising. Like, I know how to fast forward. I know what the vert button is for. I wish there was a vert dude like Andy McDonald should start a podcast and call it the Vert Button Podcast. Yellow Helmet Podcast starring Andy Mack 720. Shout out to Andy Mack 720 for shrouping his way onto the Olympic team for Team UK. I hope he slays it. I hope they let him wear a yellow helmet. If they don't, he should boycott. He should Mac caught that. So there'll be a lot of skateboard talk, and I don't care if it alienates others. Nobody used to know what skateboarding was about. They're like, well, do you see that guy kickflip back tail that legend? He came out like fakey, but he was like kind of reverted 270 back. It was crazy, huh? People were like, what type of wizardry talk are you spurting out? Kind of wanton wizardry you doing? Now everyone knows about skateboarding because of that video game, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. Oh, sure. Oh, shit. I played Tony Hawk's ever since high school smoking a bong. Shit. You don't know about Randy Reynolds? Yeah, he's the king of the 180 alley kickflip. He frontside flip over the world, good old Randy Reynolds. Did you know about him? Last week I did a sack tap. I done it. I ain't done one in 20 years. I done a sack tap. Sir, don't talk about your masturbation habits right over here. Like, we're talking about real skateboarding. Yeah, I done a Benihana to a sack tap. I didn't. I used to be sponsored. Yeah, I used to ride for Gotcha Grind, and I rode for Indy Boards and Spitfire Trucks. Shit, you didn't know? I was full on for Spitfire Trucks. I had an ad in Thrasher and Transplanted every damn month. Shit. You don't know. You don't know what I'm worth. But yeah, it's the Golden Age Pauldcast. It exists for me trying out some new bits, trying some comedies, impersonating CV joints. I'm going to leave you guys with my favorite impression. This is CCR, Creedence Clearwater Revival, and their famous frontman, John Fogerty. It's like saying his name, Fogerty. And as we all know, CCR is from the Bay Area, from Berkeley. But, they sing all these songs about the bayou and everything. So this is my impression of this guy driving. He's trying to get out of the bayou. And he runs into John Fogerty. John's got his, overalls, he's barefoot. He's got a piece of straw hanging out of his mouth. He's like, Mr. Fogerty, hello, yes. I'm really lost right now. Can you help give me directions to get out of the bayou?
And I get around the corner, then I go around the bend, then I go around the Powder Valley and chase them down the old end. Chase them down the old down on the corner, out in the street, on the off the green road.
Okay, slow down, John Fogerty. All right, so I'm going down to the corner. I'll go out in the street. Okay, now I go past Green River. Okay, I go up around the... Okay, all right.
Past the flying school, yeah.
I'm like, what? Wait, hold on. Okay, so I go past Green River. I pass the flying school. Like, is this a school? Is this like an aviation academy? Or is like the school literally levitating? Like, which one is it?
On up to Green River, down the bend, corner, around the corner, oh yeah.
I'm like, oh God, please help me. I'm sure you could probably help me if I get stuck in Lodi again, but I'm trying to get out of the bayou here. John Fogerty, can you please help me? Anyhow, Bella laughed at that one. She did a little chuckle. So, that was me providing value for the Golden Age Pauldcast. I feel like that's a fairly good John Fogerty impression because those are in high demand, don't you know? Very relevant. I got a post last week from Google. It's like, new news related to Kool and the Gang. I'm like, no, there isn't. There's no new news related to Kool and the Gang, and it hasn't been for 26 years. Anyhow, it's the Golden Age Pauldcast. The Golden Age Pauldcast. And I'm PJ Cote. Catch me at the Voodoo Saturdays from 7 to whenevers. Much love to you and yours. Bella says thank you. We're going to keep this thing rolling on our skateboards until the wheels fall off. I don't even know how to stop this, but we're going to go ahead and try to stop it now. And I love y'all. And the Golden Age Pauldcast exists everywhere podcasts can be found. And that'll about do it for my time here. Much love from the Martian landscape. And the Golden Age Pauldcast can be found everywhere. It'll be on YouTube, the Golden Age TV show, and on Cote Comedy on Insta, COTE Comedy, and PJ Cote on the Facebookers. Appreciate y'all. Much love. Bella says thank you. All right, we'll talk to you later. Da 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 da. We gotta play the theme song. Da 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 da. We gotta play the theme song. We're going over an hour and a half. That's okay. Da 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 da. We gotta play that song. It's that time again. The Golden Age Pauldcast, brought to you by the Golden Age. Thank you very much for your time. Much love from the Martian landscape. It is the Golden Age Pauldcast. I'm your host, PJ Cote. We'll see you next time. I do hope you make it out and show us mad love at our comedy night. And I want to believe. What are we looking for? See you later! TTFN. Yobadoba.